Hey everyone! Thank you for joining myself, Dawn, and Sports Singapore as I introduce to you part 2 of Yoga for Beginners. This is friendly for anyone who does not have any prior experience to doing yoga. You are not meant to be flexible before you begin this, all right? You're meant to get more flexible and more mobile, and of course, stronger as you continue your practice, right? So let's come into a standing position first, right? In the center of your mat. I'd like you to have one hand on your belly and one hand on your chest. The problem with many of us is we don't breathe deep enough when we do our movements, right? So you can either be restricting your movements by shallow breathing and causing tension through the body, or you could even be holding your breath at times when you try too hard. So be conscious with your breathing, and as you inhale here, I'd like you to feel both your belly and your chest rise and fall as you inhale and exhale. It's not going to be very intense for your practice today, but I do need you to be mindful about your breathing as you just were when you start to go into the movements, right? So let's come towards the front of your mat. We'll start off with some very easy movements first, right? So go ahead and interlock your fingers, and as you press your palms forwards and up, rise up high on tippy toes as well, and then exhale, round your backs, upper back as you lower your heels down. As you inhale, repeat that, pressing the hands up and rise up high, tiptoe. Exhale, round your back, lower your heels down slow. Let's do that together 3 more times, okay? Inhale, press your arms up, rise up high, tiptoe. And exhale, lower your heels down, round your backs. Now, if you need to hold onto the wall for help with balancing, go ahead and do that. Start to connect with those muscles around your feet. Exhale, at the same time, stretching those muscles around your hands that are so used to holding onto mobile devices now, right? Those gripping muscles. Exhale, round your back, coming back down onto both feet. We're going to come into a folded position here, but I'm going to separate the feet out, hip width distance apart. I'm going to have my hands rest on my thighs, just above my knees, and as I inhale, I'm going to arch my back, bend my elbows, look up towards the ceiling. As I exhale, I'm going to round my back once again, and I'm going to try to straighten my legs at the same time. Inhale, bend your knees, arch your back, look up. Exhale, round your backs, tuck your chin in, look towards your knees. Let's do that together 3 more times, right? Inhale. In a while, we're going to progress to doing this movement. Exhale on the ground, right? This is just a lot more manageable. 2 more times. Inhale, look up. And exhale, round the back, warming up the core muscles. Inhale at the same time, this movement of the spine facilitates me taking a deeper breath in and pushing more air to come out. I'm going to bend my knees a lot, and I'm going to take my hands down onto the ground, stepping one knee back and then the other knee back. Coming onto all fours, let's continue with what you just did, but you are weight bearing on your hands right now. The thing about weight-bearing exercises, it's so important for all of us, especially with more sedentary lifestyles now, it's because this weight-bearing movements actually helps us to increase or helps us to maintain bone density a lot better, right? So without that, your body really just, the bones just lose their density much quicker, right? As part and parcel of aging and bad diet and lifestyle choices, right? So cat-cows is one way you're going to be weight-bearing on your hands, but watch, I'm going to turn my fingers out a little bit more so that my index fingers are pointing more towards the front. Okay, I'm going to separate my knees, hip width distance apart, and as I inhale, I'm going to arch my back and look up. As I exhale, I'm going to round my back, tuck my chin in, look towards the stomach. We'll do that again. Inhale 3 more times. Looking up, tilt your hips so that your tailbone points up. Exhale, tuck your chin in, round your back, look towards your stomach. Inhale 2 more times, looking up. Exhale, round your back, tuck your chin in, look towards your stomach. 1 more time here. Inhale, look up. And exhale, round the back. And then coming back to that neutral position once again. I'm going to tuck my toes. Here's a pose that many of you would have seen very often for beginners. Downward facing dog, but watch, we're going to repeat this movement up and down so you get really used to really getting your weight to shift towards the back, right? So again, I'm going to spread the fingers. I'm going to make sure that I have weight bearing on my fingers as well. A common mistake for many of us would be to press too much weight onto the wrist and not enough distributed to the rest of the bottom surface area of your hands. So let's make sure that we have more weight bearing on your fingers, especially on the index finger knuckle, okay? Tuck your toes, lift your hips up and back, and come into downward facing dog. And then let's take one baby step back as well, because most of us are going to have too narrow a down dog, and you'll notice that I'm bringing my chest in the direction of my feet. Those of us with a lot of tightness on the back of the legs, you can bend your knees. It's perfectly fine. All right, on the inhale, I'm going to have you lower your knees back down onto all fours. That is 1. We're going to repeat that 3 more times, right? On the exhale, lift your hips up and back, push into the ground with your hands, and transfer more weight towards your legs. Inhale, come back onto your knees lightly once again. 2 more times. Lift the hips up and back, trying to get your hips towards the wall behind you. And then inhale, lower your knees gently down towards the ground. And we'll do that 1 more time here. Exhale, and you should be able to feel that stretch across the back of your legs and from shoulder to shoulder across your chest, and then lower knees to come back down. I'm going to have you step your right foot forwards between your hands. Now, if it does not really get there, the thing is most of us will be very tight to start off with, okay? So if your foot doesn't get very far towards the front, I'm going to have you use your right hand and guide the foot forwards, okay? So it comes to the space between your hands. From here, I'd like you to tuck your toes, lift the back knee off, and then press your foot flat. Look at the back foot. The toes should be pointing more towards the front versus just to the side, okay? And from here, I'm going to prop myself up on my thigh to come upright in my spine, right? At this point, if you came up too fast, some of you will be feeling a little lightheaded, okay? So take your time to come up, okay? Don't rush. You'll get used to it, all right? As your arms extend up, notice if your shoulders are not comfortable. If they're not happy, you just place your hands on your hips, all right? So take your time to just get that mobility around the shoulders once again. You can even just have your arms extend towards the front if they don't make it towards your ears as well, all right? So if you can, great. Cannot? Never mind. You just have to start from somewhere, okay? So spread the toes for the front leg, and I'm going to keep the front leg bent and the back leg straight. If you need to shorten the distance between your legs to make it more manageable, please go ahead and do that. You're going to feel that stretch across the front of your left hip. You're going to feel the muscles in that bent leg working pretty hard here, okay? And then you're going to try and hold it here for 8 deep breaths, just like we did at the beginning of your practice, where I was just standing on both legs, being conscious of my breathing. I'm going to try to do the same thing here, even though it is a position that challenges the strength of my legs and the flexibility of certain muscles as well. And balance, right? Now I'm going to slowly lower my hands down at the end of 8 breaths, lower the back knee down, and then come back onto all fours. Once again, manageable. Left foot comes forwards this time round. I'm going to have that back foot tucked. I'm going to lift the back knee up, flatten the back heel. Front knee stays bent, back leg stays straight. I'm going to press my hands down onto that front thigh and then come back up once again. Front knee stays bent, back leg stays straight, but I want to try to distribute the weight pretty evenly between both legs. Again, you decide. Is it right for you to have your arms up, or would it be better off for your shoulders to have your hands on your hips? Understand that change does take time, and this is catered more to beginners. So for many of you, you have a lot of tightness to begin with, especially around the shoulders, right? So if it's going to take you, a few weeks to get used to lifting your arms up for the whole 8 breaths, then just take the time needed, right? First start, maybe you just hold it up there for 1 or 2 or 3 breaths, and then place your hands on your waist if you need to. I'm going to try to aim to stay for about 8 breaths in this position, Warrior 1. Your belly wall should be activated, right? So do not flare your ribs, arch your back, right? I want you to make sure that you're breathing in a way that helps to activate your breathing muscles inside as well, and your lower back is not compressed. We're going to very slowly now lower our hands down towards the ground. Once again, lower the back knee, and then take it back onto all fours. Really nice. Okay, now let's have your right foot come forwards once again. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Tuck in the toes, lift the back knee, flatten the back foot, but this time I'm only going to have my right hand on that right thigh, pressing myself to come up. I am now going to face the left side of the room. All right, so we're coming into Warrior Two. I'm going to position my knee over the ankle. I'm going to extend my arms out. Again, if you need to have your hands resting on your hips, after a couple of breaths, please go ahead and do that, okay? Listen to your body. And once you have your arms up, you're gonna look towards your right fingertips. So there is a rotation around your neck as well. If you're tired, put your hands down, you're gonna just look at the wall, right? But if your arms are up, you look towards your fingertips. Observe your front knee, the leg that is bent. You don't want it to collapse inwards, okay? So try to ensure that your knee points in the same direction as big toe. Second toe, all right? So you have to probably use a little bit more strength on the outer thighs to ensure that that's what's going on, okay? Holding it there for just one more breath. So on your own, hold for about 8 breaths. This is your Warrior Two. Strengthens the legs, strengthens your core. You're using your butt, you're using your thighs, you're using your arms and your shoulders. And then very slowly, we're gonna lower ourselves down. So reach forwards towards the ground, bend your back leg, lower the knee, and then slide the leg back. Of course, you could have just turned over to the other side, but this gives your feet a little bit of a rest too. So we're gonna do the same thing on the other side, but I'm gonna turn the other way so that I can still face you, okay? You wouldn't be looking at my back. All right, now let's step your left foot forwards. We're gonna tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, flatten the back foot, support yourselves, just like we did for the past 3 rounds, coming back up into Warrior Two. Keep your front knee bent over the ankle as usual. Turn your back toes in, and we're going to look towards the left fingers this time round. And then observe your breathing. By now, some of you who have just started to exercise, you would probably feel your breathing starting to shorten. Okay, so if you need to, just back it off by shortening the distance between your legs or just resting for a while on all fours, and that's okay. All right, remember, change takes time. All right, it's very easy for people to just say, oh, yoga is tiring or yoga is too difficult for me and I'm not going to do it. If you can't do yoga, there are many other things that are actually a lot harder. Okay, so this is actually slow enough for you to notice how your body's reacting to certain stresses, right? And then you can observe your breathing as well. Work with your breath to manage the intensity of the movements that you're doing, right? Hold it there for just one more breath, okay? And then very slowly, hand rests on the thigh, fingers down, knee down, and then step back onto all fours. Let's come into child's pose to rest for a bit, okay? So lower your hips down towards your heels and extend your arms forwards. This is a rest position. Hold it here for 4 more breaths. And 3. Notice how the depth of your breath is as you hold that position. Try to slow it down for one last breath here. And then slowly roll yourselves to come back up. All right, once you're here, let's come into a cross-leg position. I'm gonna have you take your left leg over your right so that your foot kind of rests over the opposite thigh, all right? If you're okay to go further, I'm gonna have you take your knee over knee, all right? Adjust yourselves so that your hips are pretty much level. If you're able to come into this position, you probably already feel the outside of your hip for whichever leg is on top stretching. And then you want to try to lean forwards, right? For some of us, just a micro movement forwards is enough to get a very deep stretch to the outer hip on that top leg side, okay? But if you can, you're going to lower down some more till your chin or your forehead can come rest onto the knee that's on top, right? So that further deepens the stretch for the outside of your hips, outside of your thigh. Same thing, you're going to stay there for about 8 breaths, but notice your breathing. We can easily force ourselves to go into certain movements, right? But whether or not it's beneficial, it really depends on how you're breathing, right? So if you are shallow breathing here, you probably have gone too far too soon and your body is feeling stressed. It's probably tensing up, even though it's forced to stay in that position. You're not really getting much of a stretch, right? And you're probably releasing a lot of stress hormones at the same time, so back it off. The thing with stretches is you cannot rush. It's a journey with everything that you do here, right? Hold it there for one more breath. So you should feel that stretch where you can actually push yourself a bit further, but you don't have to the point where you shallow breathe, you've gone too far, okay? Slowly, come back up, uncross the legs, and let's do the same thing on the other side. Right leg over, left leg under, right? And then if you can, knee over knee, but you're gonna have to adjust so that your hips are pretty much level, right? So seated upright, your spine is not tilted to one side, your hips are not tilted either, okay? And then you're gonna start to walk your hands forwards. May not feel exactly the same on the other side. Probably wouldn't anyway, right? We're all a little imbalanced, right? Due to injuries, due to habits, lifestyles, right? So just see where your threshold is on the side. Work with it, right? Once you feel that stretch going on, stay there for a bit and breathe deeply in a way that helps your muscles and your body to relax. Don't be shallow breathing or holding your breath. Like I said, you can actually force yourself to go very fast, very low into that stretch, but it wouldn't be a beneficial one, right? You might even end up creating some injuries and creating more scar tissue that ultimately will cause you to be even tighter than when you first started. Scar tissue is something that doesn't really go away entirely, okay? So you can manage it, but it's always going to be there, right? So just avoid injuries where possible along the way. All right, we're going to hold it there for just one more breath. And then very slowly, press to come back up and come into a regular cross-leg sit once again. Right. We're going to take your hands towards the back, interlock your fingers, take your arms over towards your right side waist. We're going to press your elbows towards the wall behind you and then drop your ear in that same direction as well, right, where your hands are. Now you're going to feel that stretch along the side of your neck, all the way down to the front of your shoulders, the side of your shoulders, and then just stay there and breathe for another 2 more breaths. One more breath. And then come back up towards the center. Let's do the same thing on the other side. Switch it over, knuckles, hands over towards the left side, and then drop your ear in the same direction where your hands are to the left side, feeling that stretch on the side of the neck, holding it here for another 2 more breaths. Of course, if you can stay for longer, go for it, right? But sometimes when we stay for too long, arms or legs can start to go numb, okay? If you just started, slowly build it up, right? Sometimes it's just too much tension when you start with, right? That it just takes time to loosen up, so circulation is not restricted when you start to hold for too long. All right, and slowly come back towards the center and relax. You may sit here and just close your eyes and focus on your breathing for a couple of minutes. But I do thank you all for joining me and Sport Singapore today once again for a beginner-friendly practice of yoga. Stay tuned for more movements, for more practices that are beginner-friendly along the way. And I wish you all a wonderful day ahead. Thank you.